Hello everyone, Just Podcast TV is here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified on new content.
Episode 371. The Truth. Quincy was very happy. At first, Juniper wasn't happy because she couldn't bear to leave her mother. However, after seeing the scenery and all kinds of fun things on the island, especially Minnie, who had recently become busy, she did not have much time to spend with her. So she agreed. But she had also discussed the condition with Quincy, and it was a very serious one. If you allow me to video call Mom every day, I can promise you, I will be good. Quincy was extremely happy. It had been so many years since anyone dared to negotiate with him. Today, this little girl, Juniper, had actually talked about a condition with him. However, he could agree to this condition. Minnie was willing to let Juniper stay here. After all, she had just taken over the Angler family and had no time to take care of and accompany Juniper. Furthermore, Juniper was on the island, and she was very assured that the leader of the Marquez family would accompany her. After getting someone to call Zach in, Quincy sat on his deck chair and leisurely looked at his cigarette box. After Zach entered the room, he consciously sat on the other deck chair and leisurely smoked his cigarette. Quincy lifted his foot and pointed at the small stool in the distance with the tip of his foot, indicating for Zach to sit on the small stool. Then, Zach turned around and aimed his butt and the back of his head at the old fox. He simply did not know where he came from. Quincy raised his pipe and was about to smash it, but when he thought about how there was red smoke inside, he did not want to burn Zach anymore. He could not bear to do so. After smoking for a while, he said to Zach, "You drove a good car and tied the Ursa family up in our affairs. Because of Minnie's kindness, you also tied the Angler family up to your will. In this way, the big environment has been decided. The Marquez family will be the master, and the Ursa family will be the support. It's like the sun and the moon are wrapped around each other. Now, we only need small stars like the Angler family. As long as there are big enough stars, the Marquez family will be the universe." Zach flicked his cigarette and said, "Not interested." Normally, if Zach expressed no interest in Quincy's lecture, he would not necessarily get beaten up, but he would definitely get scolded. However, he did not do it today. Quincy's performance today was very calm, as if he had already expected it. He nodded. "I know, but there are some things I need to tell you clearly. Such a good foundation environment was created by you. If you don't become the leader, they will still retreat. This environment won't be able to sustain itself." Zach knew this very well, but he also knew other things. "If I take over, it won't be troublesome. Michael and Uncle alone won't be able to take it. The two of them will definitely think of ways to seize power from me. They won't even hesitate to touch my people. They will also directly attack me from the roots. If they kill me, it would be nice, but their hands are too dirty already. Old Fox, tell me, give me a move. When the time comes, should I kill them to prevent future troubles, or should I keep them to kill me again?" Quincy had also thought of this point, and he had already come up with a solution. "That's easy. If you are willing, you are still willing to do what you need to do. After all, I am still alive. As long as I am alive, I will not announce the matter of you becoming the leader. Unless I feel that I can't do it one day, I'll announce it in advance. This way, you will naturally not become the spearhead of their struggle. Furthermore, you don't want to watch them die, right? Only then, by becoming the clan head, will you have the ability to suppress them. If you don't want to, they won't allow you to live." He had to admit that what Quincy said made a lot of sense. Of course, he didn't want to be killed by Kyle and Michael, but he had to grasp the strength in his hands. There were a lot of people he needed to protect now. There were Kate, Xena, Susie, Luna, and Minnie. He did not want to be the leader, but he could not refuse the internal and external environment. He could only accept it. Moreover, he did not cheat Holden for nothing. When Holden came out in the future, he would definitely take revenge. He was not willing to suffer a loss, so why should he let others stare at him and not fight back? After confirming that Zack had agreed, Quincy heaved a long sigh of relief. Oh, what a sin! When other people choose the leader, their descendants will be so happy that they will jump up and down. When I choose a leader, I still have to coax him with good words, as if I am serving my grandfather. Those who don't know will think that our seniority has been reversed. That's fine. If I suffer a loss, I suffer a loss. Zack had just finished muttering when Quincy smashed the pipe with his pipe. Now that there was no more tobacco, he was no longer worried. You brat! You can even dig your own land when you pick up shit on the road. If you don't like the smell, then take advantage of it. Facing Quincy's furious complaints, Zack only chuckled and didn't say anything. But after that, he couldn't help but once again bring the topic to the news of his parents' disappearance. Old Fox, my wind chaser has been built, and I have promised you that I will be the chief of the family. Can you tell me more about my parents? You can't let me return empty-handed every time, can you? Under Zack's pleas again, the old fox finally did not say that he did not know like the previous few times. He took a deep breath, and after being silent for nearly 10 seconds, he replied, Actually, I don't know either. What I told you before was the truth. Zack was stunned. You don't know. What does that mean? The old fox said, Do you still remember the last time I got the Golden Immortal Award? I asked you, what was written in it? Regarding this matter, of course Zack remembered it. At that time, he was still curious. How could the old fox not know about it? But at that time, the old fox had avoided it. But this time, the old fox actually brought it up again. He continued, Because I don't know what's inside. Because these clues weren't given to you by me. It was your father who gave them to me. But there's one thing you can be rest assured about. Your parents aren't dead yet. They call me every year on my birthday. But I don't know what they're doing or where they are. Judging from the current situation, the two of them might be trying to lure you into growing. Well, they are secretly doing something. As for what exactly it is, I don't know. If you want to know more, you can only follow the clues they gave you. Zack was completely dumbfounded. He had never thought that these clues weren't given by his grandfather. They were left behind by his parents. But this was completely unnecessary. They could do whatever they wanted. There was no need to hide it. And they wanted him to grow? He could say it clearly, even though he might not want to do it. Zack thought about it, but he still could not understand. But the old fox also had an expression of not being able to explain it himself, which made him not even have a personal question. Thus, there was only one last hope left. He hoped that there would be enough clues in the World Cars Wind and Cloud Award that year. Episode 372, Leave Me Out. Zack wasn't in a hurry to leave this time. Instead, he chose to stay for a few more days. Although he didn't say anything, Zack could still read the old fox's mind. Kyle and Michael were fighting. Even if he tried to suppress them, it wouldn't help. Therefore, the old fox must be feeling uncomfortable in his heart. The fact that Zack could stay by his side for a few more days made the old fox feel more or less comforted in his heart. However, what he didn't expect was that during these few days, he would welcome Kyle and Michael, one after another. Today, he was playing with Juniper in his residence when Kyle came over. After a few pleasantries, Kyle brought up the purpose of his visit. He hoped that Zack would help him suppress Michael. In the end, he even expressed his stance. Uncle is already old and has no descendants. He doesn't have any intention of coveting the leader. I just don't like Michael. This unfilial thing, stabbing him in the back. Kyle said a lot, When mentioning Karen and Xander, he even shed tears, looking especially pained by their deaths. However, no matter what he said, there was only one attitude from Zach. I don't want to be involved in my family's grudges. I have no interest in leadership. It's good that I am free and unfettered every day. No matter what Kyle said, it was useless. In the end, he could only leave helplessly. After leaving the house, he met Michael, who was rushing over. Obviously, Michael had heard that he was looking for Zach. That was why he was anxious. He was afraid that Zach would become an ally with Kyle to deal with him. However, seeing the cold expression on Kyle's face, Michael could roughly guess the outcome of the matter. Aha! Uncle, does it taste good to shut the door? Do you want me to add some seasoning for you? Kyle replied with a cold expression. You will feel it. In Kyle's eyes, Zach was clearly a prodigal. After passing by Kyle, Michael entered Zach's house. Michael looked at Minnie, who was lost in thought for a moment. He felt that Minnie was too beautiful, until Zach asked, Is she beautiful? Only then did Michael suddenly come to his senses. No, Zach, you misunderstood. I just feel that she looks a little familiar. After deceiving him with this topic, Michael quickly told him the purpose of his trip. Zach, while you were away, I was forced to leave. You don't know what Uncle did. It's heartbreaking. Marquez, during your absence, Kyle really forced me to leave. You don't know what Uncle did. If it wasn't for Grandpa protecting me, I would have turned into dust by now. Michael was the most innocent person in the world, but Kyle was still so angry that he wanted to strangle him to death. That was why he came here. He wanted Zach to help him and beat Kyle to the ground. But Zach said to Michael, Michael, don't look for me about you and Uncle. I'm busy. You guys can discuss it between yourselves. Then, Zach, you go ahead with your work. After getting up and leaving Zach's residence, Kyle spat on the ground, his face full of disdain. What the hell? He only knows how to play all day? What a waste. In Michael's eyes, Zach was just a waste, and he had the same opinion as Kyle. If it was in the past, they would easily be able to see through Zach's strong threat. But now, it was not the past. Now he and Kyle were busy with internal strife all day long. All of their resources were poured into each other's bodies. So how could they care about the outside world? Even if they heard it just a little, they would know what Zach had been doing outside recently. How did he slap the Mann family's face? And how did he get together with the Ursa family? It turns out that there are also fights in big families. I thought that the people of the big families would always be wise. When Minnie sighed, Zach smiled. How could that be? When wisdom has nothing to do with one's own interests, it has something to do with one's own interests. Who else can be wise? Episode 373. It's all for the company's good. After staying on the island for 10 days, Zach would need to leave. After all, it was almost time for the annual Wind and Clouds card to be revealed. Minnie also needed to go back and deal with the matters of the Angler family. Juniper was left on the island, even though the mother and daughter were reluctant to part before she left. However, when she heard that Quincy was going to go out to the sea to fish, Juniper immediately threw her parting feelings to the back of her mind. During this period of time, her relationship with Quincy had been improving rapidly. A child's love did not involve any benefits. She would not fall in love with Quincy just because he was the leader of the Marquez family. Juniper's love was a true love. There were no benefits to be mixed in. Therefore, Quincy especially liked this little girl. He would bring her around and play with her all day long. All kinds of entertainment and games made Juniper very happy. Minnie felt relieved when she saw Juniper so happy. After bidding farewell to Zach, she left. Zach first accompanied Minnie back to Canada on the plane. After 1 or 2 days, he confirmed that the Angler family had stabilized. Then he left Minnie and returned to the country. After returning to the country, Zach went to the QZ group. Although the production of the Wind Chaser car brands was on the right track, Zach still did not dare to relax his tense nerves. Before getting the award for the Wind Chaser, he didn't want anything to happen to the Wind Chaser, even if it wouldn't work. Luckily, Walker had the quality control, Carson and Luna supervising the production, transportation, sales, and so on. So everything went smoothly, and nothing unexpected happened. After checking the production status of the factory, Luna found Zach. "Zach, my dad wants to see you. He needs to talk to you at the door." "Yes," Zach said. Sean had a very good chat with Zach that night. He drank very well. After half a kilogram of wine, Zach and Luna brought it back to the bedroom. After making arrangements for Sean, Zach returned to the living room and sat face to face with Luna on the sofa. "Luna, go to the Dream Group. That's my company." For someone as capable as Luna, Zach subconsciously thought that it would be better to work for his family. However, Luna shook her head. "These people are two with similar abilities in the same position. This is a huge business taboo. There's Carson in Dream Group. He will lead the company in the right direction. If I go there, I don't think I will lead the company in the wrong direction, but we will definitely have a conflict in the direction we want to take it. In that case, it would be better to only have Carson to help your company develop faster. As for me, with Carson around, it's not a big deal to have one more person in Dream Group, and one less person will be a lot less. That's why I still want to do well in QZ's business. This way, our two families can continue to work together better in the future." It had to be said that what Luna said made sense. Zach only wanted to subconsciously fish for good management talents, but this kind of management talent was clearly enough. Just like Luna had said, even if there were no personal grudges, there would still be disputes in terms of planning when two management talents managed a company. If that was the case, it would be better to only have one talent. All right then, Zach could only agree. After staying for 3 days, Zach left and returned to the capital. Because of a small dispute in the group, the higher-ups of the headquarters were divided into two groups. Currently, the Dream Group's development was quite fierce, and it was well known in the country. Whether it was the film and television companies under their jurisdiction or the automotive companies, they had brought the company quite a bit of fame and profit. Therefore, some of the higher-ups in the company started to propose that the entire resources be used to make the decision to be listed. There were many people who supported going public. Lance, Jessica, and Carson were all people who supported going public. However, there were also people who refused to go public. Kate and Larry did not support going public. They felt that their shares should be controlled by them. They did not need to go public to gain some reputation in exchange for the company's rapid development. At this time, a person's opinion was very important. It was Lewis, the financial director. However, at this critical moment, Lewis, who had a lot of weight, chose to watch the TV series. "I forfeit!" He forfeited. He wanted to go public, so he had to prepare to go public. If he didn't go public, he would continue with his previous work. He had zero attitude. Kate and Larry were the biggest leaders in the company. They were one level higher than Lance and the others. However, because the company had always been in a harmonious and free atmosphere, and it was based on the profits of the company, Lance and the other two insisted on going against Kate and Larry when it was not a personal grudge. Of course, this was not a bad thing. After all, everyone was considering the development of the group, and that was why they insisted on their own views. However, Zach did not allow this to happen for a long time. No matter how harmonious a conflict was, it was still a conflict. He would not allow it to happen. Therefore, after returning to the headquarters of the group, he immediately called for a video conference. "First of all, I will make my stance clear. Dream Group does not need to be listed on the market." Episode 374, Private. A college student went to work at a big company after graduating, and he couldn't go home in his early days. So of course, his parents didn't care. But when his relatives and friends asked him which company he worked at, the college student could only answer honestly. Thus, his relatives asked, "Is it a listed company?" The university student answered truthfully, It's quite a big company, but it's not listed. Which followed with a wave of mockery. Oh, the mockery. After Zach finished speaking in the video conference, he drank some water and continued, "This is a joke, but it was not hard to find out in a joke. In many people's minds, if a company was not listed, it could not be called a big company. Therefore, many entrepreneurs in the early stages of entrepreneurship try all kinds of ways to get a company to go public in the shortest time possible. In fact, what's the difference between a company going public and not being in the market? Do they really know? I don't think so. When a company is listed, generally speaking, the company's shares will be divided into a few small parts and then distributed to the market. If there are some organizations or individuals who are optimistic about the company's industry or the company's prospects, then they can buy the company's shares in the market. Now, if a company is not listed, then its shares will belong to the founder. If someone is willing to invest, they must get the approval of the founder, and then they can transfer the shares through non-public or semi-public means. For some relatively conservative entrepreneurs, if the company is not listed, they can hold the power in their own hands. And at the same time, they can also formulate a more rigorous strategy for the company. In the eyes of outsiders, if a company that is qualified to go public doesn't go public, then it will be some people who will make a fortune silently. If they go public, then they will have the opportunity to bring all the shareholders and all the shareholders to make a fortune together. After saying this, Zach paused for a moment and looked at Lance, Jessica, and Carson, who were participating in the video conference on the screen with a smile. "The three of you, don't tell me you think I want to secretly make a fortune and abandon you." Lance rolled his eyes, and Jessica simply flipped the document. The two of them understood that they were thinking about this through practical actions. Indeed, they were very clear about Zach's wealth. If they were to covet his money, it would be easier to transport it to a beggar's bowl to snatch money. This was completely unreasonable. No one would think this way. Carson was the most direct. "Director Marquez, we don't have any other intentions. We just want to be listed on the market, which will be more beneficial to the company's development." Zach nodded. "Of course, I know you are kind, but just like what I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the company can completely digest the internal shares as a way to motivate the employees and let the company grow together with the employees. If companies choose to go public, they will have the opportunity to obtain large amounts of financial support and achieve the goal of expanding their business and developing new projects. This is why most listed companies give people the feeling that they are big companies." After saying that, Zach stood up, lit a cigarette, and walked around the meeting room. He came to Larry and asked, "CEO Larry, do I need money?" Larry shook his head. "I don't know. I've never worried about money before." Zach walked to Lewis again. "Director Lewis, have you ever been troubled about money in the group?" Lewis replied truthfully, "It's quite vexing. I saw so much money in the bank account, and I couldn't help but want to move it to the stock market to earn some extra money." Everyone laughed. Lewis earning extra money would cause chaos in the stock market. Of course, he wouldn't do that. Zach finally came to Kate's side. "Director Kate." Kate quickly sat up and prepared to answer Zach's question. Zach then said, "You don't count. You are my wife. I can't tell you how much money I have, and you confiscated it." Kate was speechless, but everyone laughed happily. After the joke, Zach looked at Lance and the other two on the conference screen. "Since our company has enough funds to support its own expansion and needs in various aspects, what benefits will it bring us to go public? Fame? No, our reputation is even greater. What you can't bear to part with is this great opportunity to go on the market and make a fortune. Of course, it's to make a fortune for the company, as long as Windchaser's reputation doesn't collapse. Our market value will increase exponentially. It might even increase by several times or more than a dozen times. From a closer look, this money seems like it would be a waste if we don't earn it. But in the long run, this is a very dangerous thing. After all, we are not the kind of company that can earn money and leave the market quickly. What we need to do is to do it in the long run and for eternity. Our group, we don't have the right to speak and let others give orders. I think that everyone here does not wish to see this day come. The conflict between the two opposing factions was finally resolved by Zack. The development tone of the group had already been decided, and that was that. It would never be listed on the market, and the right to speak would always be firmly in Zack's hands. Zack did not want others to stir up trouble in the stock market after going public and cause him countless troubles. After the meeting ended, Larry smiled and said to Zack, "You still need to be the chairman. What others say doesn't work." Zack smiled and said, "They are also doing it for the good of the company." Larry nodded. "Understood, Chairman. Don't worry. We don't have any personal grudges between us. We usually have gatherings." Zack nodded and did not say anything else. Peace was more important than family. It was the same for the company. He also did not want this small matter to cause the previously famous Dream Group to fall into a faction conflict. Fortunately, these people knew how strong Zack was, so they naturally wouldn't destroy their own future just for a small profit. Other idiots would do such a thing, and those people obviously weren't idiots. The matter of the company going public was suppressed. After work at night, Zack returned home with Kate. After dinner, the two of them strolled and chatted in the neighborhood, talking about recent matters in the company. While they were chatting, there was suddenly a beating and scolding sound in the distance, attracting Zack and Kate's attention.